Alright, let's get started on how to put together and publish a podcast. I'm Maestro Billy. I've been podcasting since 2005. It's been a long time. I was one of the first podcasters in Brazil along with Gui Leite, with Macari, with Gui Werneck, and Rosso Pomodoro. A group of people started doing podcasts at that time, the very beginning of 2005. It was my chance, as I have always worked in radio, to be the programmer, announcer, producer of a program, because precisely the podcast gives you this opportunity to create content with your voice. With other people's voices, develop whatever you want and put it on the air for anyone to hear, something that the radio doesn't allow. You have to have an announcer, you have to have programming, there are a number of other processes, which are a little more complicated than simply putting a podcast on the air. And then, still in 2005, we at the Watermelon Studio made the first corporate podcast in Brazil, which was Heineken Radio. Radio Heineken was a partnership with Direta Web Design, content agency, and with Heineken, which was starting to enter Brazil. And then they wanted to do something related to nightclubbing, connected to the young audience. Then we made this podcast. It was called Heineken Radio at the time, and it was super cool and music podcast. Mixed set, with a bunch of DJs, some super interesting stuff. So we reached 40,000 plays in each episode. That's when people thought that to listen to a podcast you had to have an iPod. Anyway, time's long ago. Then time passed, we did another series of other podcasts. We did it for Volkswagen, we did it for Abril magazines, we did it for TAM, Colgate, we did a lot of things, we did it for Samsung, some really cool things like that, super interesting podcasts. And now I'm here to explain to you how to put together and publish a podcast, which is theoretically a simple thing to do. There's a trick to learning like that, right? You have to have know-how, which is what I'm explaining to you, and this is a good place to start. In addition to this, these lessons I'm doing, these videos I'm making. It's this PDF here on how to assemble and publish a podcast that is here on the cover, on the screen. So you have a series of things explaining the basics, first steps, content, participation, where to record, how to record the vignette, anyway, but what I'm going to do here now, live. Let's start. First, I'm going to open an audio editing program which is Reaper. Reaper, as well as Pro Tools, Live, Logic, or any other DAW, right, which is a digital audio workstation, is where you record a lot of audio. Where you put several audios and these audios all play together. It is multi-track. The cool thing about Reaper, unlike Pro Tools, unlike Live, unlike these other platforms, is that it's extremely flexible. Anything you put in here will become either image or audio. So, for example, I come here, I put this here. I simply drag, there is an audio here, if I press this here. Are you listening? If you are listening, it's already here, it's gone, there's an audio, and then, if I also want to get this here, put a video. Put a video, and here it comes. Shows the video screen, and there it is, look. Basically this sound, I made it with this animation from a friend of mine from Germany. But ease aside, let's start recording the podcast. What do you need first to record the podcast? You need to have your voice, don't you? And to have your voice, you'll open Reaper, which you download from www.reaper.fm. It's free, you can pay a license for it. I think it's $60 forever, but if you want to work for free, you can work for free, and that's fine too. So what are you going to do to start recording? You're going to have to create an audio channel, so you can come here on Insert. And you put track. Or you can come over here in this dark gray area here, right click, insert new track, it's already here. So you come here, you write, voice 1. Most important of all before you start recording is that you save. It's saved. With that, I don't have a lot of problems losing everything, do I? You see, when he created the channel up here, he created the channel down here as well. The visualization of your mix. You can turn the volume up, you can turn the volume down, you can do all the things over here too. But you can do it over here, but let's record first. I'll explain to you shortly. Recording is simple. If you don't have any sound card that needs very complicated setup, you're just using, I don't know, the microphone in your headphones, or you have a microphone that's already plugged into USB. When you install Reaper, it will probably already be configured for your computer's basic audio device, which is the default system device. You click here and you can come here, in this little red one that I'm already talking about and is already monitoring. In other words, it's ready to record. So let's think about what we're going to do here on the podcast. This is in that PDF there that explains what you have to do, how you have to think, what are the steps in the process. So let's think here, for example, let's do a podcast. Test, I'll do 1, 2, 3, test. Or, I'm Maestro Billy, I'm here on this live, explaining how to put together a podcast. Click to record. Hello, I'm Maestro Billy, it's quite loud, let me lower my volume a little, I'll come here, I'll discard it. Discarding is simple. Click on top and delete. Come back, I turned the volume down a bit, I'm going to record again. Hello, I'm Maestro Billy and I'm here on this live that is called How to Put Together a Podcast. I'll give you tips, I'll explain how it's done and now I'm recording it so you can understand how it's recorded in Reaper. See you soon. Ready. I'm going to save, I can click twice here. I can change the name, Voice 01 Test. Okay. But now that got a little too low. I don't know if you noticed how loud it was at that time, now it's a little low, so let's turn the volume up. How can I increase the volume? 2 ways. First, let's hear how you recorded it and see if it was good. Hello, I'm Maestro Billy and I'm here on this live that is called How to Put Together a Podcast. I'll give you tips, I'll explain how it's done, and now I'm recording it so you can understand how it's recorded in Reaper. See you soon. Okay, it was great, but this sound quality could be better. So what can you do? First, you can increase the volume over here, or you can increase the volume over here, or you can double-click, you normalize this over here. It's good because when you start putting in a lot of tracks, you'll start mixing. I like to mix too, obviously, with a mixer, right? With the mixer faders, but sometimes it's easier for you to come here and say, well, I'm going to increase just this little piece here. And now it's too high. So, on top of this audio, you can see that the cursor changes at the top. Let me leave it bigger here. Here, done. You see that the cursor changes here when he does this one, look, you click and it decreases. So this here is cool for you to be able to have an audible sound quality, and then in the end you put everything on the same level. You mix it right. Now let's do something important, which is to edit this audio, because I don't want this breath and I don't want this space between this sentence here, look. I want the, see you soon, closer, and I don't want that sound either. In a little while, this click here, I pressed here to remove the click, it's very easy. If you come here in the corner of the screen, you drag a little bit. And it's gone. Sometimes this magnet up here is clicked, and then you're going to do this here. It will cut based on these tags that exist here. That's good for when you're making music, but for when you're making audio, it's not good when you're recording loose audio. It is not good. Then unclick this magnet right here, and you have a lot more control over what you're doing. So I cut that little, see you in a little while, sound. And it ends very suddenly. What do I do? If I get here in the upper corner, you see that he changes the cursor again. It appears as if it were a 90 degrees compass. Here you come here, oh. You do a fade. Which is to do, see you in a bit, and fade down. See you soon. Ready. Then I want to take this space out of here. I want to make it shorter. If I use the mouse here I can increase and decrease the screen. So come here, I'm going to separate these two audios, just press the S key when you obviously have the audio selected. You press the S key on your computer, this is Reaper's default, you come up with this one. You simply drag. It stops here, it already creates a cross-fading here, you can even reduce it. I can make it smaller. And it will be like this. Record on Reaper, see you in a while, record on Reaper, see you in a while. Okay? Now I'm going to take that breath away at the beginning, hello I'm the Maestro. Same thing. Drag it here in the corner, do a micro fade here. And it will stay like this. Hello, I'm Maestro Billy, and I'm here on this live that is called How to Put Together a Podcast. Okay? This here is already one thing, there you have to do it. Since it's a podcast, it has to have an opening and an ending, right? And then you will enter the wonderful world of vignettes. First the vignette, you're going to say something, talk about how to put together a podcast, something like that. And then what will happen? You won't have space here, right? Hello, I'm Maestro. Got what? It has half a second since I started recording, so what do I do? Select the two. Control plus A until it is, if you do a Control plus A, and then press G, which is group. What did it do? He created a group. If I click the letter U, I do an ungroup, and it goes one of each separate from the other. So it's important that you create G. This is important here when you're editing giant audios, those 1-hour interviews that you have, you create the group, and then you can move the whole thing. It makes it much easier for you to work with large chunks of audio. So open it here, okay. Let me select this voice here, I'm going to open another channel. And I'm going to call Vignette Voice. One that will have the second voice. I'll explain to you in a little while the increase here. You can see that he created another channel down here as well. I'm going to change the color of this one here. Click with the right mouse. There are all these options here. The Reaper is really cool. It has a lot of cool options. It's a matter of use, and discover. So I'm going to put this here. Vignette will be green. Okay, now everything I record here will be green. Let's record, so the name of the program is called How to Put Together a Podcast. So click to record, okay? How to put together a podcast. You have to do this announcer prank, then I'll rename it. Rename as Vignette Voice. Done. Same scheme, I need to cut the beginning. I need to cut, how did it turn out? How to put together a podcast. Okay, this goes together here, the end gives a little fade here, and then I already have, theoretically, the vignette and my text, right? How to put together a podcast. Hello, I'm Maestro Billy and I'm here. But obviously, you notice that this one is lower than this one. I can do the same scheme of clicking twice and normalizing, applying, and that's it. How to put together a podcast. Hello, I'm Maestro Billy. It's a beginning. Now important, let's make this vignette look like a vignette. I'm going to duplicate this channel. Voice vignette, here I come. Right-click, duplicate track. There I have two. How to mount a podcast too loud. But what I'm going to do, this second here I'm going to change the sound quality a little. I'm going to give him a negative pitch. I come here, look, when you click twice on it, a lot of things appear here. I came here in pitch adjustment, I put less, 0.25. Apply. Okay. Then, I make a pan, I put each one of them to one side. So I come down here. One pen goes to the left, and the other goes to the right, then I click on the two, select the two, click on top, shift click here, I create a group, so I can always move it together. And then when I play this here, you'll notice that it's going to be an open sound with how to put together. It's going to be an interesting effect when I see how to put together a podcast. You've already realized that you've already changed, you're already different. If I mute this one, if it's only heard on one side, how do I put together a podcast? And if I mute this one, obviously, how to put together a podcast? They're in the other, the two together. How to put together a podcast. The two are very high, and it's going to start to cause problems because you can see here in the master it's already reaching the peak of +6, but this here for finalization. Let's go this way. First, let me lower it a little bit here. The two will stay here, look. How to put together a podcast, okay. Then I can put an effect on this here. So a good reverb, do that cool thing, then come here in effects, this button here, it will open and then it will show all the effects that I have, everything that is VST, audio unit, MIDI instrument, you can play MIDI to put the MIDI, and go by category. There's the ambisonic, if you add a reverb, then I click here, verb, what can it be? Let's put one. REA Verb is the free one here. Everything Cocos and REA, from Reaper, are the plugins that come with it, so I'm going to put that reverb here. Click 2 times on it, the reverb appeared. Here, I will not put any presets. Let's see how it goes like this. How to put together a podcast. You can't hear anything, turn it up a little more. We are joking. How to put together a podcast. Let me put this here. How to put together a podcast. You realize you've walked into a beautiful bathroom, haven't you? Then how to put together a podcast. Lots of bathroom. How to put together a podcast. Then I click with the right mouse. In this one. Copy selected FX. Click here, close. Then I click on this other one here. I click on the place of the effect, paste effect. Now it has the two effects, the same effect on each of the channels. But this one here I'm going to leave a little more to give it a mood, and in this other one, which is the one where I put the pitch, I'm going to add a flanger. What do I have to flanger here? JS flanger. Let's see what you have here. How to put together a podcast. You can already see that it's different. Oh, how to put together a podcast. Already have one. A rolling spaceship. How to put together a podcast. I can just put the flanger before the reverb, it's more interesting. The order here of the effects is also valid, so you'll put compressor, reverb, in short, anything else. The order makes the difference. So here the flanger was already going before the reverb, so the reverb will pick up the flanger. It also gets more interesting, how to put together a podcast. Right? 2 channels, how to put together a podcast. It's ready, don't ever forget to save. For you to make a vignette, you need sound effects, yes, and where do you find them? Obviously, on the internet. Sound effects have a lot of free space, a lot. If you write free sound effects, there's a lot. This year I'm using Storyblocks, so I need an effect. It has an effect. Let's put Start Whoosh here for example. He's already given me a number of options here. Let's hear each one. Then you listen, right? Yes? No? This one is cool. So I'm going to download this one. MP3, okay. Allow, of course. Downloaded. The cool thing about Reaper, as I said before, is that you simply drag and drop it. You can even drag in the voice channel and then you just move to the bottom channel here. It appears for you, a brand new channel. This one. So, our session looks like this. I'm going to put this effect. I'm going to drag it a little bit here. Visually, you realize that it will have the effect before, right? Put the name. SFX1. You realize that it has the effect before, then the voice will come in, and then I will come in talking. Let's see how it is so far. How to put together a podcast. Okay, but how to put together a podcast was too dry. Let's find an impact, that very radiophonic thing. Impact. Let's see what impact it has here. Deep sub. No, too low. This one is interesting, but I already have one here. This one, let's download this one. I liked it, MP3 downloaded. Same scheme. Drag. Put it on, stay like this, listen to the effect first, see if it will work. How to put together a podcast. Hello, I'm a Maestro, that's it. It gave. But there is a lot of tail, I cut and fade. I come here and lower these two a little bit like this. How to put together a podcast. Very forward. How to put together a podcast. Hi, I'm Maestro Billy and I'm here for this. Is ready. What's missing? Track, music underneath. You can create your own here on Reaper if you want. If you are a musician, you can open an instrument, a channel here. Then you come, FX, you come to instruments, there are all the instruments you have on your computer, they are here, so whatever you want, I don't know, I want to put them. This little keyboard right here. Just play, I get it. Oh, I'm not going to turn on the MIDI now. But anyway, you can play, record normally, create, but that's not why we're here. Then I will take the instrument. Removed. And I'm going to add a track. First I'm going to rename it as SFX2. It's important to name each channel so you don't get lost later. It's simple here. We were doing 5 or 6 channels, not much. But when you make a giant podcast, you have a lot of tracks, lots of variation, lots of effects, it gets complicated, so it's very important that you name and color it. You don't need to put that absurd lime green that's here, but it helps a lot if you colorize. For example, everything music is dark blue, everything effect is red. The most important effects are in orange. In short, it creates a pattern in your head that will make it much easier when you make the final edit. When podcasts get bigger and bigger in terms of production issues, okay? So I saved it. Let's look for a song too. At audio blocks, I want a corporate one, those very basic ones, corporate. I just want music. Let's see this one here. Or is it going to be this other one, called inspiring? This one is great, so we come, same scheme, drag it, it will generate, it will create. Look, it's going to be even interesting, because if you look, we're going to be silent here. How cool it will be. If you can visually tell that I have it, it explodes here, and then the music will come in. The music that is also coming from a fade, so it will be cool. Just listen with the effect is the music. Interesting, just the vignette with the voice. How to put together a podcast. And then I'll start talking later, right? It's good to give a little space here. Look, so it doesn't get too fast. It gets confusing because when we are seeing it like this, when we are realizing how it is, right? The montage in Reaper, everything is very logical. We say, now the voice will come in, I know. But the problem is that whoever is listening to the podcast doesn't know what's going on. So suddenly they get scared, the vignette ends, people start talking, it's very complicated. Let's leave a little space and let's put the voice. How is everything so far? How to put together a podcast. Hello, I'm Maestro Billy and I'm here on this live that is called How to Put Together a Podcast. The music is obviously loud as hell. Can't you hear that I'm talking straight? So what do I do? There are several ways to do this automation, right? If you lower the volume, right? You can come here on trim, you click trim, you come here, select the volume and then you go button by button, right? It creates points to go down, to go up. You can do this automatically and it will record here. See if you put it here, for example. The volume, it will create another channel that is just monitoring the volume. And then, if you right-click here, you come to right and every time you move the volume knob here it will automate it. But what do I want to do? Want to do it a much easier way. That's a lot of use. I come here in the music, I'm here at this point, where I start talking up here I come in the music, click on S, then I reduce only that side of the track and where I'm talking it's just going to be rough because the track is very loud, suddenly it becomes very low, you hear it, hello, I'm Maestro Billy and I'm here. It doesn't even seem like it's rough, but it's rough. If you take my voice, hear how it goes. Ridiculous. And then what do? You do that thing you did here in the voice, the cross-fading. You click here, and just do it like this. Because the music will be loud and then it will subside. Hello, I'm Maestro Billy blah, blah, blah. Shall we listen? How to put together a podcast. Hello, I'm Maestro Billy and I'm here on this live that is called How to Put Together a Podcast. I'll give you tips, I'll explain how it's done and now I'm recording it so you can understand how it's recorded in Reaper. See you soon. See you soon. Let's end with just the trail, we're not going to do an exit vignette. Let's just listen to the track. Here is a point. Listen to the music, count by 4 by 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And that's just where it's ending up here. Let's see what the end of the song is like. I didn't listen to the whole song. I'm risking not having a good ending. I can screw myself. But there is. I think it might even be here. Look, let me see. Oh, it was beautiful. It'll be better cool to end up here. It's visual, right? You can see that there are some decreases here in the middle, here, and there's the little end. I think the end doesn't have a beat, it's going to be weird. Yeah, so it'll have to be right here. Alright, I'm going to fade, it's going to be beautiful. I come here, S again, delete this whole middle, and then what do? You come here, look, select it, Control or Command X, right? If you are on the PC or if you are on the Mac, which in my case, which is Command plus X, I come and mark here, the place where I made the cut, and I just do a Control plus V. He put exactly at that point where I made the first cut, so it will look like this. Record on Reaper. Alright, but let's end here. Delete, fade, if I still want, I can come here. It gets even cooler, want to see? Oh, let me close here. It will end like this. Less, because it has a remnant of the keyboard. Okay. Let's see how it went with the voice, see how you record, see you in a little while, in Reaper. You're obviously going to increase it a little bit, to that one, but very micro indeed, because you don't know at what point the song is in front of you that you made the cut, right? I can even, to make it even cooler. I come here, look, I do a Ctrl+S, add a little bit here, add a little bit here. And I even put together a little bit here, but very little, just to give the turnaround time here. See you soon. And then you can do this, look, you come here, drag it down and create a new channel, fade it, and put a reverb here too. The reverb. I'm going to lower its wet down there, as we already know it's noisy, just listen to the very end. Realizing it's a little left over, right? Cool, so it's going to be like this here. Let's see how our podcast today went. How to put together a podcast. Hello, I'm Maestro Billy and I'm here on this live that is called How to Put Together a Podcast. I'll give you tips, I'll explain how it's done, and now I'm recording it so you can understand how it's recorded in Reaper. See you soon. That's it, your podcast is ready. It has 17 seconds, almost 18. Let's mix it right so we don't do anything wrong. As you noticed here, the master down here, which is the master of the mixer, is peaking here, look. Then I clicked on that red one and now it will play, the sound will explode. How to put together a podcast. It's wrong, it can't be like that. So what do? You have two ways to do it. One of them you put a limiter here in the master, right? On your master channel. Well, what can I do that's easier? This one is free, great, what's it called? It's the Ozone 8, is it? Elements. Enter the Isotope website. It's free. This Ozone Elements 8. He has a super simple thing, and he has a thing that is the maximizer. It's the most beautiful thing in the world. You say, I want a peak of plus 0.3, it's not loudness, it's just one. A holder. And then you say, I want it to hold between 1.2 and 0.3. If you want to give more compression, more punch, you can lower it here. You see, it leaves him very, very little. How to put together a podcast. Hello, you're Maestro Billy and I'm here on this live that is called How to Put Together a Podcast. You see that the peak didn't peak down here in the master. If I want to make it very nervous, like FM radio, I lower its threshold. It's like this. How to put together a podcast. Hello, I'm Maestro Billy and I'm here, but then it distorts, it's rough, it's not worth it, so just put a little bit. Only 1.5. It's more to hold so you don't have that spike. So this one is in place, maximizer. If you want, you can create an imager, but this is not the case. Anyway, maximizer is a success. Want to put an equalization? You can add an equalization, even if you want to equalize the voice it is also important. Sometimes you have different voices being recorded, someone has a lower voice, someone has a voice in a noisier place and you have to removing some kind of frequency. This I will explain in other lives. Here I am doing the basics of the basics just for you to understand. So now let's render. As at the end of the track I put the reverb, remember that it has reverb, tail. I can't just have it render the way it is here. I have to create a time selection, so I come under all the channels where there is no audio, I do it like this. Basically, I created this time selection here, didn't I? I saved, file, render. Let's render. Let's create a stereo file of this over here. Coming from where? From the master mix, the one where I put the elements, but there are a number of other options. Other options, you can separate them all by channel, you can do a lot of things, the way you want. The whole project? No, because the whole project will cut that little end that has the reverb. I want my time selection, which was this piece that I already separated here. Look, this little space with this little reverb left over. Okay, what do I want? Do you want which one? What format do I want? Stereo, 44.100, okay. So you come here primary output. MPEG not. MPEG making a video, I don't want video, I want a wave. Wave 16 bits, PCM, it's normal. Where am I going to put it? I'm going to put it there in my podcast directory that is already here, but I'm going to create a folder called #ready. That's what I do for everything. I love creating this #ready here, because it's always on top, and then I create the master hashtag, when it's music too. It makes it very easy for you to find yourself within the session if you don't ask, where did I put that audio? Then I'll be here for the test podcast 090323, which is today. You don't need to apply. You just give a render file, it will do a full speed offline that I asked, okay? Or you can do it listening to, same Pro Tools scheme, here it comes, and that's it. Ready. He already created the audio. How to put together a podcast. Hello, I'm Maestro Billy and I'm here on this live that is called How to Put Together a Podcast. I'll give you tips, I'll explain how it's done, and now I'm recording it so you can understand how it's recorded in Reaper. See you soon. Okay, plenty left over, empty ending. Cut, fade. This program that I use from left right here is Sound Studio. It is paid, you can use Audacity. Audacity is free and works for the same thing here. You notice that he is a little too tense here at the beginning and then he goes downhill, right? If you want to improve this a little, obviously you can do it in your mix, you can increase the voice more here, anyway, or you can also come here and give it a little bit more compression here. Then you render again. It will say, oh, is it going to create a new file or is it overwrite? Overwrite. Create it again. There, close, don't save. It already has a little more glue on it, it's a little more flattened. Then you'll have to do it, as you surrendered again, you'll have to take this one out. This little end here, fade out. Okay, your starter podcast is ready.